as part of the Yashwant Sinha group, and I know what it is like on the ground for families, for women, for children, day-to-day living as those mortars keep firing. But this is a positive one, that 21 onwards, and now even after the recent conflagration, there's silence there. One element, and I would be failing in my duty as a geopolitical analyst to say that terrorism hangs like a shadow, like in Macbeth, Banquo's shadow over the situations. If we get terrorism out of the way, we will move forward in addressing what are Pakistan's concerns. Pakistan has genuine concerns. I'm not for a moment saying they don't have a case of improved relations, dialogue, and the resolution of issues of Jammu and Kashmir, in which Pakistan, by similar agreement, is also a party through bilateral dialogue and resolution. Terrorism, it may interest my colleagues here, by Director General Inter-Services Public Relations in Pakistan, I'm quoting their figure, 17 months Pakistan lost 3,896 people combined. That means the armed forces, civilians, and others. In the same period, isolated, we lost about 5 million. So terrorism is affecting Pakistan much, much more than India. And therefore it should be a priority for Pakistan to see that various forms of terrorism do not move forward. I was a bit intrigued, but I won't take more than maybe 30 seconds on Ashraf Saab's point about this nuclear factor. One has done a lot of writings, a lot of research on this issue. We are very wise states in terms of managing forced employment under the nuclear overhang. Right from the time we nuclearized both countries in 1998, and Kargil followed just a year later. Even in Operation Sindoor, while there is this element of, for want of a better expression, saber rattling from both sides on occasion, but essentially, let me mention to you as a person who's taken part in 2 wars and has a certain knowledge on where the nuclear weapons come into a forceful situation. There are a lot of features, both sides, whether it is demating of the core and the warhead and the delivery platform, then permissive action links, again, both countries, excellent system. So to say some rogue will hook off a nuclear weapon, no sir. And also whether there is force use below that, it is managed very judicially, extremely wisely by both sides. I like to say that we always talk about Simla 72 as the Bible for India-Pakistan relations, pure bilateral. May I suggest that we have had instances in the recent years when there has been a soft mediation behind the scenes, whether it is MBS from Saudi Arabia, whether it is MBZ from UAE, or whether it is Mamin Al-Thani, MAT from the Amir of Qatar, as also occasionally Joe Biden and his colleagues and Donald Trump and his colleagues. I think, and I believe very strongly, we should encourage these elements, even the issues bilateral, to come in during crisis situation and also softly persuade both powers to take steps forward towards dialogue for conflict prevention to begin with, and then dialogue for peace. I say this even if in the context of the recent conflagration, there were persuasions by the Trump administration not only to bring down the high temperature of the conflict, but also some of you who have time to go through words exchange, to bring the two countries together, perhaps for a dialogue, behind the scenes in third countries. So there is a prospect there. Lastly, I would believe, and I think these are a set of suggestions, we'll go the details later, the back channels, Asim Khan from Pakistan and Ajit Doval from India, they have been reasonably active as per reports one has heard, and that process must continue not only for a possible crisis situation management in the future, but also to identify, if it is agreed, what would be the roadmap and the steps towards the eventual progression to a dialogue process. So there is, to my mind, I dare not give this advice to my, or suggestion to my Pakistani colleagues, but I do believe very strongly that time has come for India to have a Pakistan policy change in which engagement and following up on that engagement with a dialogue process is something for which time has come. To stick to the kind of situation we have stuck to from 2019 onwards, in the context of recent developments, I think is an extremely unwise proposition. Last point, and I say this more in my capacity as a Kashmiri, and I'm so delighted to see so many Kashmiris in our midst, that there is no entity in the Indian Union which is so much affected by the absence of normalized relationship between India and Pakistan as the state of Jammu and Kashmir, now the Union Territory of Kashmir, J&K, and also representatives from the Union Territory of Ladakh, who are neighboring the other side of Pakistan. So I think they may be, just to leave a thought, and Kasuri Saab has often mentioned this in his book as well, if we have to look ahead for the resolution of Jammu and Kashmir, which is one part of the problem, and resolution of the issue of terrorism, which is the other side of the coin, I think the way forward is return to the era of 2003-2007. I term it the golden period of relationship between India and Pakistan, as also between the center and the political elements in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And that is a non-territorial resolution of the Jammu and Kashmir issue, plugging in all elements of humanitarian relationship between the two peoples on both sides of the line of control. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I think I've taken people more.
Thank you very much, Kapil Kar Saab. May I now request Kasuri Saab to offer his comments. And normally I would have liked Manishankar Raiya to follow him, but not Kasuri Saab. We will have one speaker in between. Is that all right, Mani? Kasuri Saab, your next 6-7 minutes. We can't hear you.